case test. The
It's
koi is in some ways,
yeah,
what do I say? Right. The koi is in some ways like an undesdomesticated
domesticated.
animal. And in some ways like cattle, and in some ways it like cattle and like an undomesticated animal, and in some ways it is neither like cattle nor like an undomesticated animal. How is it like an undomesticated animal? Its blood must be covered like the blood of an undomesticated animal, and it may not be slaughtered on a festival day. But if you slaughtered it, its blood is not covered. Its caliph conveys carrying cleanliness, uncleanliness like an undomesticated animal, and its uncleanness is in doubt, and one may not redeem it with its firstborn donkey. How is it like cattle? The caliph is forbidden with like the cattle like the caliph of cattle, and one is not liable to carrots for it. And it may not be bought with Meiser Sheni money to be eaten in Yerushalayim, and it's subject to the shoulder, two cheeks, and the more. But Reb Elias exempts, for the burden of proof lies on the claimant.
Okay.
We had three Mishnahs ago, four. We had something about pigs being domesticated animals. I
Um,
never, I
yeah, that's
didn't know
right.
that.
That's right. I think it was in Kilayim we were talking about domesticated or undomesticated animals.
I
Recently, huh?
can't think of a pig as being a domesticated animal. Just
Well, I mean, the Goyim keep them as domesticated
I
animals.
know. Just anyway. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Okay.
Okay. Keter ena shave lo lechaya velo lebehema. How is it unlike both types? Well, because asur mishum kilayim im hachaya im habehema. So it has a din of kilayim with chaya and behema. I'm not sure what chaya is similar to a koi, but behema, if it's a buffalo, then we're talking about cows or
Right.
bull, and they cannot be crossbred and they cannot be harnessed together because that would be a line. Okay. Kosev chayesov ubehemto livno. If he writes a shtar and says, "I'm giving all of my chayot and all of my behemot to my son," lo kasav lo isakoi. He has. It's an interesting thing because, like, if you think about it, that's actually quite a clarifying statement because if we knew that a koi was a chaya or a behema, then if he writes both, then surely he's covered them. But in this
Right.
particular case, the mission is telling us that he has not that this does not include a koi because a koi it seems is a category unto itself,
Right. Right.
and that category is taking the chumras of both chaya and behema. But it's not that we're in a suffix as to what a koi is. It's something that straddles both worlds, but is not actually included in either of them. Okay. Im amar hareini nazir shezeh chaya o behema. Um, and it may be because of the suffix, and that we don't transfer the property out of the suffix. But if he takes a vow and says, "I'm a nazir," if this is a chaya or a behema, harez hu nazir. But there he is considered a nazir. Why? Because when it comes to nazirus, the suffix we take the chumrah.
Mhm.
And we say, okay, we're not sure exactly what it is, but because of the doubt of the situation, we're going to say that you need to keep your Naziris.
I don't remember, but what makes it that they can't put it in a category? You know,
Um, just just that everything else, I don't know why this particular one is the one that they can't work out if it's a chaya or if it's a behema. Um, it's just that's the Masorah that they have is that they don't have a Masorah about the koi.
okay.
Okay, so it's curious to me that actually like now that we say that he becomes a Nazir from saying it's either a Chai or Behem because we go Machmir over there. But if he writes his property to his son, the son doesn't get possession of the koi because we got to he's going to have to come and prove that a koi is either a chai or behema and it's not a category by itself. So I guess because of that suffix, the monetary transfer doesn't take place. Shar kol derachav shavim lechayev lebehema. In every other way, it shares the shared properties of chai and behema. Tan shchita kazeh v'kazeh. You have to do shchita if you want to eat it. Matame mishum nevela, its carcass transfers nevela tuma, and it's also because of Ava Minachai, if anything was cut off it while it was alive, kazeh v'chazeh. So everything else is the same. Okay, we finished talking about sort of split cases like the koi, and we saw the estrog and the damahalchestein, etc. So now we return to our Masechta's main story, which is taking Bikurim. Ketzad mafrishim es Bikurim. What is the story? How do we do this? Yored Adam Nasoch Sadehu v'ro'et te'ena shebikra. He goes down into his field and he sees, let's say, a fig that started to form. That's the first fig on my tree. Eshkol shebiker, or the first cluster of grapes that is recognizable. Rimon shebiker, or the first rimon. Kosh Robagemi, he takes a string and ties it around the stem of this. It's not even ripe. It's still the teeny little
Right.
fruit that hasn't yet ripened. He ties a string around it and says, Hare Elu Bikurim. This is what I'm going to take to Yerushalayim. Rabbi Shimon Omer, Abu Bikain says it's not enough, says Rabbi Shimon. Chose Bikuri osam Bikurim me'acha sheyitalshu min hakarka. He says you have to declare it's Bikurim again once he cuts them off the tree, which is not the
Mm,
halacha.
mm.
Okay. Kate said, "Mali nasa Bikurim." Okay, so we've pushed fast forward. He's done his harvest and he's taken and he's separated out his Bikurim and he's put them all in a nice basket. And now we're going to go up to Yerushalayim. Kol ha'aya rosh Mamad. Okay, now remember the Mamad. We dealt with Mamad in Maseches Tanith. But the Mamad is just like you have a mishmar of Kohanim, right? The Kohanim rotate. There are 24 mishmaros of Kohanim
Yeah.
that take turns. You need Yisraelim as well to come and take turns. Why? Because all of the Korbanos Tzibur, the daily Tamid every day there are two Tamid Korbanos. And you can't have a korban being brought up without the Baalim being there. The owner's got to be there for the korban.
Right.
So um, so what Chazal did was they organized mamados of Israel, representatives of the people from all around the country, who would, like the Kohanim, they would send a small delegation of people to go and be present and represent Israel at the Korban. Okay, so all of the cities that are in that Ma'amad zone, right? The Ma'amad represented a whole zone of Eretz Yisrael, and the people and all of the cities in that area would prepare to make Aliyah Regel. Okay, and what did they do? Miskansos la ir shel Ma'amad. They would be whatever the principal town is of that Ma'amad, the biggest town. They'd all gather together there. Belanin birchova shel ir, and they would sleep in the street. Why do they sleep in the street? Because they don't want to take the chance of there being a mace under the roof.
Right.
Okay, keep yourself tahor. Okay, v'lo hayu nichnasin lebatim, so they wouldn't go into the houses. But v'lamashkim haya memune omer, and the and as the people would wake up in the morning, there was a guy who was in charge, the memune, and he would say, "Kumu v'nale Tzion el Hashem Elokeinu." Come, let's get up and go to Hashem in Yerushalayim. Okay, and the story will continue in our coming Mishnayos.
Okay.
Okay.
Orla, Gimel Zion. For Reb Meir used to say, whatever is customary to count renders holy. But the sages say only six things render holy, but Reb Akiva says seven, and they are the following: perak nuts, pomegranates, abaddon, sealed jars, beet shoots, cabbage heads, and Greek gourds. And Reb Akiva says also householders' loaves. Whatever is liable to Orla is Orla, and to Kalea Karim is Kalea Karim. How so? If the nuts split, the pomegranates burst open, the jars open, the gourds were cut, or the loaves were broken up, they are voided 1 in 200. Doubtful oil in Eretz Israel, it is forbidden, but in Syria is permitted. And in foreign lands he goes down and buys, provided only that he does not see him gather. If vegetables are planted in a vineyard and the vegetables are sold outside it, in Eretz Israel it's forbidden, but in Syria it is permitted. And in foreign lands he goes down and gathers, provided only that it is not gathered by hand. Kadash is forbidden by Torah law everywhere. Ola is by halacha, and Kalayim is by rabbinic law. Okay.
Okay, Hadran Allah, Maseches Orla. And tomorrow, put your bookmark at the beginning of Bikkurim.
Okay.
Okay, Master Sheni.
Maybe let's get the bookmark in there. Okay. All right. That's a shame. Okay. Dal Ches. If one set aside an Isser on account of that, for he ate half of it and went to another place where it was worth opinion, he may on account of it eat for another Isser. If one set aside opinion on the account thereof, he ate half of it and went to another place where it was worth one Isser, he may on account of it eat for another half. If one set aside an Isser of Maisa Sheni, he may on account of it eat for an 11th part of the Isser and for 1/100th of an Isser. Beit Shammai says throughout 10, but Beis Hillel says in case of the certain 11, and in case of Demai, it's 10. All coins found in Chulin, even a golden dinner with silver and copper coins. If one found a potsherd with them and Misa was written on it, it is Misa. And if one found a vessel on which Korban was written, Rabbi Yehuda says it was of earthenware, it is Kulan, but its contents are Korban. And if it was of metal, it is Korban, but its contents are Chulin. They said to him, it is not customary for people to Chulin into Korban. Okay. Now we are into Kalayan. Only spun and woven goods come under the prohibition of Kalayim, for it is written, you shall not wear shatnez, that which is shua, tove, and nuaz. Reb Shimon ben Elazar says, nalos is he's estranged, umlas is estranged his father in heaven against him. Felted materials are forbidden because they are combed, and edging of wool on linen is forbidden because it interlaces the web. Rabbi Yossi says purple woolen cords are forbidden because one stitches them in order that they may hold up until tying them up. And one man I tie a woolen with a flaxen ribbon to gird one's loins, even though there is a strap in the middle. The marks of weavers and marks of laundrymen are forbidden on account of kalayim. A single stitch is not considered a fastening, and it does not come under the prohibition of kalayim, and if one undoes it on the Sabbath, he's exempt. If one brings both ends of the same side, it is fastening and comes under the prohibition of kalayim, and if one undoes it on Sabbath, he's liable. Rabbi Yehuda says only if one makes three, a sack and a basket combined to constitute kalayim. Hadranullah, sector kalayim.
Hadranullah, Maseches Kilayim, and tomorrow we'll start Shvius.
Okay. Hara. Okay. Zion Hay. If someone fills his barrel in a barrel of Akatas water, and he first fills his barrel and ties it to carrying pole, and he subsequently fills the barrel of Akatas water, if he filled the barrel of Akatas water first and afterwards filled his barrel, it's disqualified. If he puts his barrel behind him and the barrel of Akatas water in front of him, but if he put the barrel of Akatas water behind him, it is disqualified. If they were both for Akatas water, he places one in front of him and one in the back of him, and this is valid since it is impossible. If someone takes the rope in his hand along his way, it is valid, but not along his way, it is invalid. Concerning this matter, someone went to Yavna for 3 festivals, and on the 3rd festival, they validated it for him in a special ruling for that time. If he coils the ropes a little, the water is valid. Did I do 3?
No, you're right. You're right. Carry on. Sorry, I thought you were.
If he coils the rope a little at a time, the water is valid. But if he coils the rope at the end, the water is invalid. Rabbi Yossi says it was in this case that they validated the water in a special ruling for that time. Okay. And the Vacham. Zion Hay. If he performed Malika with his left hand or at night, or he slaughtered a non-sacred bird inside the courtyard or offerings outside it, these do not contaminate with tumor via the throat. But if he performed Malika with a knife, or perform Malika on a non-sacred bird inside, or on offerings outside, or on turtle doves whose time has not arrived, the young pigeons whose time has passed, or on a bird whose wing has atrophied, or whose eye was blinded, or whose foot was cut off, they contaminate with tumor via the throat. This is the rule. Anything with this qualification is in the holy, does not contaminate with tumor via the throat. But if this qualification is not in the holy, it contaminates with tumor via the throat. and all disqualified persons who perform malika, their malika is not valid, but the birds do not contaminate with tumor via the throat. If he performed malika and was found to be a treifa, Ramea says it does not contaminate with tumor via the throat. Rabbi Yehuda says it contaminates with tumor via the throat. Rabbi Meir says that the carcass of an animal would transfer tumor through touching and carrying, yet its slaughter rids its treifa of any tumor. Then the carcass of a bird, which does not transfer tumor through touching and carrying, does it not follow that the shechita should surely rid its treifa of any tumor? Thus, just as we find regarding shechita that it renders permissible for eating, and it also rids the treifa of tumor, so too its malika, which renders permissible for eating, should also rid its treifa of tumor. Rabbi Yossi says it suffices that it be like an animal carcass, which shechita cleanses of tumor, but not of its malika. Okay, so
One
over
more.
here. I thought that was it. That was
Yeah, one more for in Zvachim.
no.
Now,
Yeah. I know I put it over here. Okay.
oh, you got a second volume.
Second volume, yeah. Okay. If any sacrifices become mixed with Katas offerings that must be left to die, or with ox that must be stolen, even if only 1 in 10,000, they must all be left to die. If they mix with an ox of which a sin has been committed, either an ox that has killed a person according to the evidence of one witness, or the evidence of the owner, or with an animal that has committed an act of bestiality, or an animal in which an act of bestiality is performed, or with an animal designated for idolatrous sacrifice, and one which has been worshipped, or if it became mixed with a harlot's payment, or a dog's exchange, or a mixed breed, or a treifa, or an animal born by cesarean section, they should be left to pasture until they become blemished, after which they should be sold, and with the money of the most expensive of them, he should bring the same kind of offering. If it mixed with blemished consecrated animals, the unconsecrated animals should be sold to those in need of that kind of offering. Okay,
Hey,
okay.
and Kasubos.
Let's see what I do. Okay, the tubos. Okay, Ted Zion. If a woman impairs her ketubah, she is not paid except with an oath. If one
Oh,
witness
wait,
is
wait,
testifying,
wait, wait. Hold on a second. Go back one. We should be
yes,
on.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
If she went from her husband's grave to her father's house, or if she went back to her father's in-law's house, but was not made an administrator, the heirs cannot impose an oath upon her. If she became an administrator, the heirs can impose an oath upon her concerning the future, but they cannot impose an oath upon her concerning the past. If a woman impairs her ketubah, she is not paid except with an oath. If one witness testifies against her that is paid, she is not paid except with an oath. For property of orphans, from assigned property, or in his absence, she is not paid except with an oath. If she impairs the ketubah, how? If her ketubah was 1,000 zuz, and he said to her, "You have received your ketubah," and she says, "I have received only 100," she is not paid except with an oath. If one witness testifies against her that it is paid, how? If her ketubah was 1,000 zuz and she said, "You have received your ketubah," and she says, "I have not received it," and one witness testifies against her and that she is paid, she is not paid except with an oath. From assigned property, how? If he sold his property to others and seeks to be paid by the purchasers, she is not paid except with an oath. From the property of orphans, how? If he died and left his property to orphans and she seeks to be paid by the orphans, she is not paid except with an oath. Or in his absence, how? If he went overseas and she seeks to be paid in his absence, she is not paid except with an oath. Reb Shimon says, whenever she claims a ketubah, the heirs can impose an oath upon her, but if she does not claim a ketubah, the heirs cannot impose an oath upon her. Okay. And we have Shavuos. Shavuos, right? Did you say Shavuos after this?
No, 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 no. That's for tomorrow.
Tomorrow, okay.
Yeah.
Shavuos. Shavuos. Okay, we're coming to
Okay, we're
Shavuos.
done.